Check.
I'm really sorry. Indeed.
One way to get
It is just after 6 o'clock, and we are convening Planning and Zoning Commission meeting Tuesday, June the 3rd, 2025. It is just after 6 p.m. Chelsea, if you would please call the roll.
Burks, Darrell Wood, John Clements, Pamela Gibson, Jim Stillwell,
Here,
Mark Chilton, Andy Warford.
we absolutely have a quorum and 100% attendance, and I sincerely appreciate everyone who has showed up. I also appreciate this only 2 citizens who have showed up. Instead of having 100, we have 2, and that is such a relief. So if I could move on to item 2, the approval of the minutes from the May 6, 2025 Planning and Zoning meeting. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Wait. Commissioner Gibson has an amendment. Certainly we can. Thanks for that catch. Moving on, we have an amendment to move it from 2024 to 2025. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is approved. We have an amendment to the minutes to change it from 24 to 25. Moving to item 3, Board of Adjustments, item A, 2024 Neely Street, variance for a setback. Chelsea, please read the request.
Susan Brown, property owner, is requesting approval of a variance for 2042 Neely Street. The purpose of this variance is to allow an accessory building to be placed within 24 inches of the side property line. It's normally 5 feet per R2 regulations. All rules and requirements have been met in accordance with city ordinance. DRC and Benton Utilities have approved. I did want to make note to the commissioners that I did call the applicant several times. I did not get a copy of her proof of publication, so if you'll just keep that in mind, if approval is given, if we could make it contingent upon me receiving that so that I can make sure notifications.
Thank you, Chelsea. Is there any further discussion or any issues that any commissioner has to raise? We have a motion and a second to table this issue because of publication of notice. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. I think that was the easiest way to handle it. Item 3A has been tabled. Moving on to item 4, Planning Commission, Normandy Street rezoned from H1 to R5.
Genesis Properties LLC, which is the property owner, is requesting approval of a rezone at parcel number 805-205-28001. This property is currently zoned HI, which is heavy industrial, and they are requesting this property be rezoned to R5, which is multifamily district. All questions and comments from Benton Utilities and City of Benton have been approved.
Thank you, Chelsea. Are there comments or questions or issues from the commission? Go ahead, Commissioner Gibson. I'm sorry. I don't know. Wait, time out. I am so sorry. That may have seemed a little rude, but in order for this to be official, I would like for you to take the podium, state your name, and sign the book. I'm so sorry. So sorry. I do have to do that. Just say your name. Thank you.
and he owns the other property on the back as a business. So he wants to build a duplex so he can move with his elderly mother and just keep track of the business and the lot.
The property that Jan, what, that little metal
Yeah, that will
storage
be
building.
removed. Yeah, it will be removed. Yeah.
But, you know, both that piece of property and the house next to it.
Yeah.
Is the house next to it a business or is it
No,
a residence?
it's a residence. It will be a rental.
Okay, it's a residence.
Yes. It-
First zone, right, industrial, which is not residential. So my question is, why you just rezone?
Well, he just didn't want to, mess with that one right now. He just, because, he just wants to build on that other side.
That
he didn't-
property is existing, so
Yeah, it's
that's why.
existing property, so he didn't think it was need to rezone it since it already has something on there.
According to the zoning ordinance, how it works is the amortization period starts at the initiation or the approval of these current zoning ordinance, which would be 2017, unless it did not fall in accordance with the zoning ordinance that was prior to that. It did with the one that was prior to 2017, so from 2017, their amortization period is up to 45 years. So they have 45 years to either zone it appropriately or no longer continue the use since it doesn't fit the zoning matrix. However, since they are building on this one that's being requested, that is what initiated the process because no new non-conforming, you can't make a property more non-conforming. So we wouldn't allow them to build a duplex until this parcel was rezoned, but they're not doing anything to the one north. So I think that that's why it wasn't questioned. Yeah, I mean, it's up to the applicant if they do it or not.
I got you. Yeah, I can see her point, but he didn't think he didn't need to rezone it right now because, he's not doing anything else with it. He just wants to build this empty lot.
Are there other questions or comments?
If the north lot, the one with the existing house was sold, would it have to be rezoned?
Not unless there was being a modification made to the property. So if they were selling it and the buyer requested a zoning verification letter of some sort or requested it be rezoned, the only time I see it happen when there's a purchase or a sale is if one of the parties requests it or makes their purchase contingent upon it or something like that. But unless a modification is being made to the home, I will not request that the applicant get a rezone unless a modification is being made, because I can't make it more non-conforming.
Bruce, it could. It will.
Is the zone.
A good banker would ask for a contingent. Is there other discussion? And is there a motion? We have a motion and a second. Chelsea, please call the roll. It is unanimous yes. Motion is approved. Moving on to item 5, other business. Legislative roundtable discussion on recently passed legislation.
Ms. Bianca, it'll go, before city council at the end of the month for final approval. I'll send you an email with the date and time. All right, just to kind of go through the most recent, past legislative bills with you guys that will affect you guys as a planning commission. There's 3 that I really thought you would want to know about. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
The first one has to do with the ETJ. The ETJ is no longer, so we no longer have jurisdiction outside of Benton city limits. Yeah, so the ETJ is gone. Used to, we had, a mile outside Benton city limits, but now, yeah, so we no longer have. Yeah, so I know Baxter, I talked to him a little bit about it. We're gonna try to get with the county to maybe figure out how we can work together to continue our ultimate, land use plan. But whether that works out or not, then I haven't talked to them, only Baxter, I think, has. I didn't want to reach out until I had the blessings of the higher-ups, but that was something that was mentioned at my seminar, was that people were getting together with the county, but I assume that they would be. Yeah. Yeah, it would benefit everyone.
The county doesn't have subdivision.
I know that they don't require curb and gutters. I know that they have a county planning board. Anytime we do a subdivision that is in our ETJ, but outside of city limits, I send them information. They make comments per their regulations, send it back, and then they have to meet both ours and the county's. So they do have standards that they go by, but they are not as stringent as ours. That's a, I believe it's a ADH letter. The second one that I gave a copy of you guys to is the accessory dwelling, unit that is, and the accessory dwelling unit is a secondary living quarters on a single family lot. How it reads, currently in our ordinance is that accessory dwelling units can be up to 30% of the square footage of the primary dwelling, or 5% of the total square footage of the parcel, whichever is less. How state statute reads it now is it can be up to 75% of the primary dwelling square footage, or 1,000 square feet in size, whichever is less. We cannot regulate how they look. We cannot make them more restrictive than the primary dwelling, meaning they can set side by side. The setbacks are still the same. We can make it less restrictive, not more. So if we want to at least make sure that they set flush with the primary residence, we can create an ordinance that says that, but we cannot regulate the design. And from my understanding of the seminar, when we asked the attorneys, the only way that we can regulate if it's even site built is through state fire code. So it can be a tiny home, it can be a mobile home, it can be pretty much anything. So I'm gonna get with Benton Utilities and see how this will affect infrastructure, because a 25 lot subdivision can now turn into 50. That affects state fire code because of the 2 entrances that's required over 30 lots, but it can also affect our usage of our sewer infrastructure pump stations. I believe that they can put it in their covenants. I would have to double check. I'm sorry, that's the one I didn't print for myself.
If they do the.
Mm-hmm. You would be surprised. A lot of a lot of the ones that I get, because it's a requirement, is a draft bill of assurance at preliminary plat and a final bill of assurance at final plat. A lot of them, they take from an old subdivision, the developer takes from an old subdivision that they just created and essentially renames it to fit that. So a lot of them are pretty generic, unless it's, like a big fancy neighborhood. But the city cannot enforce a bill of assurance, and it says that in the statute. So it can be any structure that they want as long as it meets state fire code. That's the only out that the city has.
75% of the square footage
Yeah.
of the main dwelling.
Yeah, so if you have 1,000 square foot home, it can be 750 square feet in size. We cannot regulate the look in historic district commissions, and we cannot require additional parking spaces either.
Chelsea, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Our current ordinance talks about accessory dwelling.
Yes, ma'am.
units. We now have to amend
Yes, ma'am.
our ordinance and just refer to
Mhm.
this act
I will probably
or whatever.
change,
back-
yes, I'll probably change the 30 to 75. Or, I'll just probably copy the terminology used in the statute and reference it and send it to Baxter to review. However he advises me to do it, is how I'll change it. But I did already tell him that I'd be working on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All of these are.
Yeah, it's like you said, can you keep it quiet?
Yeah,
I'm not advertising any of it.
yeah.
So the last one, the very last one I wanted to bring to y'all's attention is they did put in a bill for the cities to have the option to create an administrator, I guess, whatever you want to call it, of rezoning. So what that means is that we could pick a city staff member to approve or deny rezones at staff level instead of them coming before. That would obviously probably be me. I do not recommend us doing that because any zoning map changes, I believe, and I'm sorry Baxter if he's listening and I'm telling the people wrong, that legislation for the zoning map changes, it has to go through legislation. So, which means the city has to vote, so it would still have to go through city council. I would rather, the planning commission give a blessing or a denial because you guys are all educated on the planning and zoning of the city rather than a staff member. It leaves less room for error and any type of pressure or anything at staff level. So, I would not recommend us utilizing that. So that's the only ones that I really thought would affect you guys very much, because whenever we do receive subdivision, requests, we do need to consider the ADUs. Andy, you have something? So how I've always interpreted everything, which this is not correct now, I always thought of an accessory dwelling unit as a mother-in-law's quarters, a guest home, a secondary living quarters to the primary residence. How it is now being told to me by the attorneys for Metro Plan is we cannot regulate who lives there, if they rent it out, if it's an Airbnb, if they are related in any kind of way. So if I had 1,000 square foot home and a 750 square foot mobile home on my lot, I could rent out my 750 square foot home to Jim Ed, and it would be completely fine. As long as it met state fire code, as long as the mobile home did. Yes, but it can't be more restrictive. So if our setback is 25 feet, we cannot say the accessory dwelling unit is 50.
Realizing that there is really not anything we can do to unwind this bill, I am disappointed that we did not know that this bill was coming. This is, in one person's opinion, the chair, this is a bad bill. And
And mine. And me.
I don't know why we didn't see it coming. I do not know why we were not made aware. I will leave it there.
I know that a lot of mayors and city officials did go to these meetings. I was not invited.
Clearly, I was not.
Yeah, so I went to the seminar after the fact, educating on what they need. That's all that I was told.
Thanks, Chelsea, understood. That's the last item on our agenda. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. We stand adjourned.